Listen to the video screen and watch the audio, huh?
You have audio, you have video, and everything else that is necessary for your radio enjoyment here at the Old Tube Radio Network. 27085 is the frequency where we are at in the RF zone. oldtuberadio.net in your audio zone on your Universal Media Netweb device. And if you're watching the pictures, you're probably somewhere at Google YouTube. So hello to you on another episode of the Old Tube Radio Net in its 34th year. Maybe it's 35, maybe it's 33, I don't know. We've been doing this a long time, where we gather around a Saturday night and listen for our radio collectors to stop by with their vintage tube radio gear and give us a shout, give us a call. We'll talk about radios and microphones and crystals and what have you, but we'll have a good time, maybe like you remember doing ever so long ago on your old tube radio. So without any further ado, we will start, of course, with the directed net roll call of the SWLs. That's the shortwave listeners, who some of which have radios, tube radios. Some, of course, just have transistor radios, but that's okay. Everyone is invited to join in the Old Tube Radio Network here and say hello, and we'll see what we can get in the way of radios. But in the meantime, let me go to the top of page 1 on the SWL list. If you're playing the home game, we're looking for 00.
00. Happily checking in.
Merrily. Let me click the button here, and you can follow along at oldtuberadio.net. And I think it'll say that 00 is checked in. Indeed, you are. We'll catch you at 77 if you're there.
Yes, sir.
SWL number 1 with a check-in. SWL number 2, who is over right now as we speak on the video chat side. Say hello to Mr. OBP. If you've got a chance to get on the video chat, Kevin is saying the sunspot number is 24.2740. That's pretty accurate, but there have definitely been a spot or two facing our way. Some of you have noticed that the 10 and 11 meter bands have been opening up, as well as some openings on 6 meters, so that's a good indication that we may have some sunspot activity. SWL number 3. And I've got a check-in here, a note to check in SWL number 3, which I will do. SWL 4. Shortwave listener number 5. SWL 6. SWL 7.
SWL 7 checking in.
And sounding good doing it. Let me get you on the list here, on the big board as well. And I think what I will do is my RF is kicking back into the audio here. It was out earlier. What I'm going to do is switch the video over to the S meter, so you'll be able to, wherever you are, whoever you are, give yourself a radio check as we go through the roll call. Thank you, Ed. Oh, just a reminder, I still do not have a 2-meter crossband radio up, but I think there will be some people out there listening. So if you want to check in that way, we'll be able to get a relay over to net control. Thanks. Takes us to SWL 11 and 12, checking in via email. SWL 13. And Mike sometimes checks in at oldtuberadio.net, which is a good way to go if you can't get to us on the RF zone. SWL 14. SWL 15. SWL 16. SWL 17. SWL 18. Shortwave listener 19. SWL 20.
Number 20 here. And also check in number 29. and proxy me in for next week.
All right, I got the 2-9, I've got the proxy for next week, but you are here live and direct this week, which is a good thing. So we'll be talking with you perhaps on one of your radios, just like we're doing now. I wonder if is that the Heath kit? It sounds good. Whatever it is, it's a nice item of interest. We got you checked in. And over to the award-winning station, SWL 21, who is curator of the tourist attraction, the world's longest ground rod exhibit. Not sure if it's like a Disneyland ride where you have to bring the e-ticket and strap yourself in, but the ground rod is functional and sounding good. Hello, DD21. Thanks for tuning in the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Here on the West Coast, beaconing out of Central California, out of Fresno. Hope to hear all of you within the RF zone and maybe some of you listening in from afar, waiting for the E-skip to show up tonight. Thanks for checking in. Over to SWL 22. SWL 23. SWL 24. SWL 25.
Hello, Dennis. 25 checking in, and I do have the 2-meter crossband frequently monitoring, so if I hear anything, I'll let you know. Anyway, please check in 74 if you could, too. Back to you, Dennis.
I will do that. I could probably clip-lead a little antenna here, but I don't think I would hear anyone unless they were very, very close. So thanks for that. Then we go over to page 2 for SWL 27. Then up to the proxy check-in at SWL 29. Over to SWL 31. I have not, and I will do that right now, checked the big board, where often we find SWL 37. We'll start at up in the balcony. Hello to Southern California. We've got a lone Tennessee station, Barstow. Hello, Barstow. We would have some backscatter short E-skip to hear the Barstow area. Hello to Washington. We've got Maryland. Kentucky is in. There's Hendersonville, Tennessee. We'll get 31 checked in here tonight. Robert and Teresa. Having sneezing fits, and I didn't even stir up the dirt today. We've got Oakland, California, Fayetteville, North Carolina coming up to you. Monza, New York. Hello to the New York contingent. Canby, Oregon, or somewhere near it. Sometimes these QTHs are not quite where you're at. Sandy, Utah, of course. Dallas, Georgia, got you checked in. Woodland Park, Colorado, probably listening in. See if it can catch us on the air. A couple of stations from Fresno, Tulare. Brentwood, X4000, we'll make sure to get Stemish checked in. Somerville, South Carolina. Maryland, another New York station out of Ankara. We've got the UK, and a station up around Yosemite. So a lot of you are represented here tonight. Over on the video side, also in New York, Smarty Jones listening in. And who else is out there? Oh, BP, of course. So we will continue with the roll call looking for SWL 32. SWL 33, myself, Bozo Control, the Jingle Singers, Mr. Announcer, and whoever else happens to jump in Studio B tonight. Over to SWL 35, Mr. Bill, checking in on the big page from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Rumor has it that he might be waving a hand here closer coming up. So if that's the case, Bill, I know it's going to be probably a quick jaunt, but enjoy the weather. We're having great We're having that great summer weather that lasts for about a week and then turns nasty. So hopefully you don't get in on the nasty part. Next is SWL 36. SWL 37.
SWL 37 checking in, and good evening time, Dennis.
And good evening to you, Chris. You are sounding good. And I bet if you had the video turned up, you'd be looking good as well. Got you checked in.
Okay, I'll be back.
SWL 38. SWL 39. Shortwave Listener 40.
SWL 40 checking in from Chinatown.
I can hear the dragon. Sounds like the dragon is loose there down on Tulare Street. You are sounding good. We got you checked in. SWL 41. SWL 42. I think I had 42 in there earlier. If I don't hear them soon, I'll get everybody checked in. Over to SWL 43.
I just walked up on the back porch when I heard you call me. I'm bouncing between here and the laundry, so 42 and the crew here.
All right, 42 and the crew. We will get them at the appropriate time. The radio sounds good tonight. And know how it is when you are the guy that does it all. You look around and say, oh, yeah, that's my job too, isn't it? Got you checked in. Let's try SWL 43. The Braco Cherry, go ahead.
24, checking in.
And up to the microphonium just in time, SWL 24. Hello, Joseph. Good Sunday evening to you, and thanks for checking in.
Sunday?
Did I say Sunday? Well, it's Sunday somewhere. Do we have any Australian stations that can bail me out of this? A good Saturday evening. How about that? And everybody's looking and like, what did I forget to do? SWL 44, Mr. Ray in Utah, who is hanging out tonight on the video side, because that's where the Universal Media NetWeb is letting him hang out. I think he said he'd be out there tonight, so wherever you are, Ray, we do have you checked in. We'll look for you popping in on various media venues here. SWL 45.
Sounding good as always, Dennis. 45.
All right, it's only half broken tonight, so I can sound half good as well. Likewise, nice loud radio. Always interested in find out, which we will do here in about 20 minutes when we start glowing in the dark. Find out what radio you're checking in on tonight. Thanks for tuning into the Old Tube Radio Network. And there is Mr. Delta X-Ray on the video side saying hello. Next is SWL 46. SWL 47.
Well, greetings from the Radio Lounge. This is SWL 47, where we just love the smell of vacuum tubes in the morning. Well, at least at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Vacuum tubes in the evening, even on Sunday, which it is not at this moment. Gotta love the old tube radio, whether you're listening to them or you are actually one of the drivers, and you can get all the senses going there. We got you checked in, Mike. Thanks.
Oops, thank you.
And we'll probably be hearing from that radio as well coming up on the Old Tube Radio Network. Over to SWL 48.
SWL 48 checking in. Thanks,
Live and direct at 27085 and beaconing across the universe at oldtuberadio.net. Thank you, KP. Out there in Madera Town. Over to SWL 49. SWL 50.
Oh, yeah, sure, you betcha. 50 checking in there.
Checking in, not from Kingsburg, as many of you might think, with a check-in like that. You are sounding good, sir. 50 is checked in. SWL 51.
SWL 51 checking in.
A station a little bit closer to Kingsburg, but not quite there. Sounding good. I got the replacement Behringer audio board quickly wired in here with the minimal amount of XLRs and RCAs and quarter-inch phono jacks to make this operation work tonight. Sounding good. Thanks for checking in. SWL 52. Shortwave listener 53.
53, checking in.
Mr. Bel Air. Hello, Bob. We'll check in 53 and head over to page 3. Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis.
Also want to say hello to Steve there in Ohio. Bob and Steve show beaconing from Ohio. As the song goes, there's probably a lot of songs about Ohio. They are, via the video link in the green room, making sure the jingle singers do what they do best, which typically is not jingle singing, but we hope that they will do some of that too. And they sent out for wine. Maybe it's that, we have something called Trader Joe's here. I don't know if you have it there. Probably. So they might be getting the $2 chuck tonight. We will see how they stagger out at 10:30 in the PM tonight. Looking for SWL 54. Putting a proxy check in for SWL 54. SWL 55.
55, bump 2, please, Dennis, thank you.
All right, and the virtual SWL 55 checking in. Thank you.
Thank you.
SWL 56.
Good evening, Dennis and the net. 56, just for kicks.
56 beaconing in from the other side of the railroad tracks. And sounding good doing it. Thanks, Phil. SWL 58. The barbecue must be still going on late. Well, the sun isn't even... Is it? Looking behind me. The sun is just going down, so... Still might be at the barbecue. Heard him check in on the 10-meter net on Wednesday night. How about SWL 59? SWL 60.
Hello, Dennis, and hello, crew there for sure. And a loud shout there to longtime friend, number 53, Bel Air. Let's check in this DX2527 Jake Space.
We will do that. In fact, we're doing it right now. And yeah, Mr. Bel Air, pretty much I know when to turn the page. He is typically always there right on time. Like yourself, Joe, on the 291 base there, the 2527 sounding good. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
Let's try SWL 61.
61, checking in, Dennis.
Sounding good with 8 S units here in the Midtown Fresno. Dean, we've got you checked in over.
Thank you, sir.
Reminder that the vintage tube radios will be coming up. Don't know what we will have tonight. Don't know what manufacturers will be stopping by. You'll just have to stay tuned in. See what our radio operators, collectors come up with tonight. Usually something quite interesting. As always, let's go out to Old Town Clovis for SWL 62.
Evening time, Dennis. This is 62, checking in from downtown Clovis.
On time, on frequency, and sounding great at 22 minutes after 8 p.m. in the Pacific Daylight Time Zone. Thanks for checking in. Beaconing from and representing our New York stations, the Big Iron out there, whether they're here at 27085 or probably right now down on 75 meters at 3890, 3885. Hello to BB and Smarty, all our New York stations who are listening in. Also, who's new? Zonker321 checking in. Hi, Timmy, from Channel 30. From Channel 30. Now, is that like the big TV Channel 30? It might be. It might be that particular Tim Tron. Probably wearing the headphones, too, with a cup of coffee coming out of the thermos. Now, actually, at this point, there's probably a lot stronger than coffee coming out of the thermos. Anyway, hello, Zonker321. Here on the Old Tuber Radio Network, we are looking for SWL64.
I think that's me.
That is you from Tulare or... no, Atwater. That's right. It's sounding good from Atwater tonight. SWL65.
SWL65 checking in.
All right, Mr. Marshmallow. Hello, Eric. SWL65 with the X and the square. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Shortwave listener 66. SWL67. SWL68. And I'm going to do something. Let me switch the video. I'm going to switch the video stream back over to the control room here. And in honor that Zonker321 is listening in, I want to, in our fraternity of TV people, on my desk here, I looked over and I have this. I have this. Doing my notes on the Channel 30. And this is an old one. Doesn't even say HD. There it is, the Channel 30 notepad. So you got to roll them when you got them. Let's continue with the roll call. SWL 69. Head back over to the S-meter. Give yourself a report. 69. I'm going to give Kenny a proxy check-in. If he could... I'm sure he would be out there checking it. Maybe he's waving a hand from oldtuberadio.net. Let's head up to a ways in the foothills, SWL 70. Let's head way the heck out there. Our digital listener, Stan, SWL 71. I'm going to scroll over to the big page to see the Mr. Announcer meme. Is that what that is? Anyway, Stan is... checking in tonight from Dallas, Georgia. Warming up the Pierce Simpson Guardian 23. Also, let me say hello while I'm here on the page. Hello to Rob in Colorado, listening, talking about some decent E-skip yesterday. That's the reports I've been hearing, that the short E-skip coming in, 6 meters opening up, and letting the smoke out of a Drake TR3. Nice. TR4, the TR3. Great radios. And back to the workbench. Thanks, Rob, for waving a hand at the Old Tube Radio Network. Looking for SWL 72. SWL 73. I think SWL 73 has probably had a few TR3s, a few Drake radios in his day. He might even have some or many on his radio shelves. Whenever you go to a local ham fest or swap meet, John, SWL 73, is always carrying off something, and if it's vintage like the Drakes, you can pretty much guarantee that he's loading it up. He'll be the first one to make a bid on that. We got a proxy check-in for the 50,000 watt radio station, SWL 74. Shortwave listener 75. The guy that got us started off as 00 checking in, we'll call him again. It's SWL 77.
And good evening, Dennis, and all the listeners out there. 77 on the Tower of Power out of the Tower District. We're checking in.
All right, it's the 2-for-1 coupon. It's 2-for-1 coupon days for another 3 weeks, it looks like. Sounding good, thanks for checking in. Reminder that you're listening to the Old Tube Radio Network, whether you're at 27085, the frequency on 11 meters, channel 11, oldtuberadio.net on your Universal Media Net web device, or possibly watching the S meter at Google, YouTube, Old Tube Radio Network, where each Saturday we, like they do on the vintage car shows, where you drive to the hamburger stand and bring your Thins in chrome, your Cadillacs and your old Pontiacs and your Metropolitans or whatever you have, and kick the tires and turn on the AM radio, all that good stuff. That's what we'll be doing here tonight, is the Thins in chrome of 11-meter radio. From 1958 to about 1978, these radios were produced with the vacuum tubes. We'll be talking to them shortly after the roll call. Looking for SWL 79.
79, check it in.
He thought I would never get there, but Mr. DC, you were sounding good, and we've got the X in the square. SWL 80. Over to page 4. This gentleman might have had, I know the big block, multi-block yard sales are happening in his neighborhood, so he might be still out recuperating from that. SWL 81. Let's see if the barbecue is still going on in the ditch banks. SWL 82.
82, check it in from the ditch banks of Viola. And you can proxy in 58. I think he's what you call on a timeout. He's been grounded. So go ahead and proxy in that 58.
All right. I thought maybe he was doing the big Viola barbecue or something. And in the world of RF, in the world of radio, grounding is a good thing. Otherwise, it may not be, but we will get Jeremy 58 checked in, and also likewise yourself 82. Sounding good, Ron. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Dennis.
Let's head over to Clovistown, I do believe, for SWL 84. SWL 85. Keep an eye out for any stations that can't make it in. Look for you on oldtuberadio.net. Over to SWL 86. Shortwave Listener 87. SWL 88. Net Controller has actually looked at the proper screen, and we will be getting a proxy check-in from John in Reedley. Thank you, Ray, for that. Over to SWL 89. We've got a check-in, number 2 out of 3 for SWL 90. Heading over to Madera Town for SWL 92. You call again, SWL 92. SWL 93. Louis said he might be taking a radio hiatus, so he might be checking in over the Facebook page, which you can do. I will be checking that. Let's head over to Fresno, Dave. SWL 98. I'm getting carrier but no audio, so if it happens, I will hear it. How about out in the mobile somewhere, SWL 103? Going to get a proxy check-in to Mr. Cheesy E. Jeff, who was out on Facebook earlier, so we'll do that. SWL 109. The radios are coming up. SWL 110. The break station. This is your Old Tube Radio Network. Go ahead.
98, checking in.
All right, it sounds good now. I don't know if that was you trying to click in or not. I was seeing the carrier but not hearing the audio. The audio sounds, as they say, marvelous right now.
All right, thank you, Dennis. It was me.
Okay, you have audio, video, and everything necessary for communications. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
Let me try Reedley Town again, SWL 111. 111, keying up, or is it keying down on the radio? Floating the ground wave into Midtown Fresno tonight. Thanks, Robert, for staying up late. Then we jump over to SWL 114.
114 checking in.
Loud and clear as always, Wayne. Thanks for listening in to the Old Tuba Radio Network.
Thank you.
SWL 128 our digital listener, one of our digital listeners, I should say, out of Fairfax, Virginia. John Lee, let me scroll down and see if you are on the list. Not yet. I think the weather is behaving in that general area tonight. I know last week a lot of people were pulling coaxes and Ethernet cables due to the storms, so hopefully weather is getting better. Let's go a little closer to home. SWL 131. Northwest Fresno, SWL 133.
Good evening, Dennis. 133 is checking in.
Good evening, Dave. You are sounding good on the net tonight. We'll get you checked in. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Dennis.
I'm not sure if I have a proxy check-in, but I will call this station, as he might be out in the radio cabana tonight, SWL 135. The Braco Tiara, go ahead.
We got a proxy check-in from the crossband 85.
All right, I'll proxy in 135, and we also proxy 85 from the crossband. Thanks for having the Chinatown beacon wafting over the Central Valley tonight for the 2-meter frequency. Let 85 know that he is checked in. Actually, if he looks at oldtuberadio.net, he will see under the SWL roll call the fact that 85 is checked in. Thank you, over.
Okay, great.
He was actually proxy checked in, but we will give a big X in the square for the live and direct mode. Thanks. Also a check-in for SWL 137, SWL 145.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. 145 checking in. Like to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
All the mothers, whether you know it or not, Happy Mother's Day coming up tomorrow. Tony, you are sounding good, and we've got you checked in, 145.
Thank you, Dennis.
Also, say hello to Brian the Mighty KUH in Nine Land, or at least Nine Call, in his Radio Shack tonight around everything that's 21st century and some of the 20th century radios in his Radio Shack, and waving a hand at the video site. Hello, Brian. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We're just about done with the roll call. The radios will be coming up shortly. SWL 147 checking in from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Let me scroll down and see what's going on there. More southern thunderstorms tonight as spring moves towards summer. Neil reporting in. Hopefully they're not as intense as last week. Also noting that he had some skip activity in the last couple of days on 11 and 10 meters as well from the northeastern states, Canada, Nova Scotia, occasional Texas, and Oklahoma. Not bad. We'll see if we can garner some DX tonight. Thanks, Neil, for checking in. Let's head up to Course Gold for SWL 195. Reminder that we will be here through 10 o'clock tonight, so if you can't make it during the roll call, you can always break in at any time you hear us or see the glowing 6L6, and we'll get you checked in. Over to SWL 226. Any other stations that would like to check in on the SWL roll call before we switch over to the tube radios? All right, with that said, give me a minute or two to set up for the radio side, the tube side. The video will stay going. You'll be able to hopefully see some photos of the likenesses of the radios as they check in. We'll see how many radios we can get tonight glowing in the dark. OTR, back in a moment.
Break 1-1, can I get a radio check? Come on.
You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Greetings to you, wherever you are. For music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
Certainly hope the station for you is OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radio's glowing in the dark. 27085 is our frequency, channel 11. In the RF zone of the Central Valley in California and everywhere else, thanks to oldtuberadio.net and the Google YouTube. Hello, everybody. We'll be checking in your tube radios tonight. We are standing by listening for radio number 1.
45.
25.
And 2 stations heard. We've got Paul. Go ahead and step up into the air chair, Paul, and SWL 25. Jerry, you can jump into the green room with the jingle singers and whatever else is happening there. All I can say is behave, because you will be on the air shortly as radio number 2. Signing in to the Old Tube Radio Network list here for May 11th, 2019. Can you believe we have been doing this for 34 years? But it's fun, and that's why we do it. We like the sound. We like the aura of those classic vintage tube radios. And it appears that Paul has one for us right now. Hello, 45.
Yeah, okay. This is a true classic CB radio. This is my buddy Bass, RC-11B receiver with a buddy TX-11B transmitter.
And the buddies can fool you sometimes because they will make the little chirp when the radio keys up, like a Browning would. But that's basically because, like a Browning, you've got a separate transmitter and a separate receiver, not a transceiver. I will switch over to a photo that is an advertisement not the best quality, but it'll get everybody into the mode of operation here that we have three pieces to this radio: a transmitter, receiver, and the on-the-air speaker. And then, of course, Paul, we will go over to you for a transmission and hear how that thing is running. Over.
Yeah, that's about like what I'm running. This serial number 333, so I think they switched over to another company. I think the FCC shut them out of the business for a while, but they sold it to another company. And that is the same, almost a picture like mine, but mine has a light on the outside of the transmitter, which was done with the new owners. Now, I don't know, if maybe you could tell me who that is, but I think it was, who the heck was it anyway? It was Marine Communications, I believe. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, there were two. There was, I think, Autronics and Marina Communications. I don't know if both were in California. I switched over to the photo from, I think that's Harvey's collection. And the transmitter is the smaller unit, very unassuming, with the channel selector knob and your RF meter. And unfortunately, this one doesn't show the correct speaker, but I wanted to switch over to that to see if that shows the light. And my information says TX11B has a black faceplate. And I'm looking to see if there's any difference between Marina and Autronics. Keep listening, because Harvey may chime in sometime tonight with some information on that. But boy, the audio is super clear. It's got the really good fidelity where they've, like the Brownings, they've got the mid-range audio punched up nice and loud. That radio was favorite to those who like to do modifications, sort of turn the transmitter into the business band mode with a lot more oomph in the RF department, and you could certainly beef up the audio as well. You're sounding good. Take another transmission.
Okay, well, this is all stock. This has never been changed to 10 meter. So it's running the factory watch on the thing. The only thing is I had to put a microphone on it, which they never come with a mic. I put a Turner Plus 3 on it, and it seems to like it real well. I back off it quite a ways. Now this thing got 24 crystal control channels on the thing, and it's got a VFO also, and just a total neat radio. The thing is, factory transmitter was factory mounted externally. This was the only model around that time that had the light on that. That's the light I'm telling you about, on the outside of the thing rather than lit through from the inside. So that's about the size of it, I tell you. It's just a giant, beautiful radio. Back to you.
And from all the ones out of your collection, I was going to say this one definitely has close to the best signal. And all the audio is good, but this shines. I went to the S meter. If you watch the video later on, you can see that you are almost, was it S9? Working out pretty good and sounding really nice. On the Buddy bass, and you get the extra little chirp in there, which is perfect. Not like the Browning ping, it's just a nice little, and I'm sure you can hear that. That would be the transmitter or the receiver listening to the transmitter for just a second before the receiver switches over to the mute position. Our first radio of the evening, TX11B, TX meaning the transmitter part of the radio, the RC11B, meaning the receiver part of the radio, and the external speaker. If you have, Paul, if you've got the correct external speaker, you should have an on-the-air light when you key up. Over.
Come back on that, I'm sorry.
Let's see, if you have the correct trio there, when you key down the transmitter, your speaker, separate speaker, should have an on-the-air light. Is that correct? Over.
Yeah, we got somebody coming in at the same time. I don't know why, but it's something coming in. The same transmitter with the receiver, they're matched set, yes. As far as the on-air light that comes on with a speaker, no, I made this one, and I have some other factory ones, but I kind of like mine better. Back to you.
And the photo that we were showing, let me go back to that. I know there's a audio glitch when I change the video settings here. So bear with me on that. This one also showing the external speaker. But you get a speaker that size and with a good fidelity receiver, you get the nice audio coming in. It sounds great. Thanks for radio number 1, the Buddy Bass. We'll go back to you for a transmission, and then we'll pick up a radio number 2. But Paul, always enjoy your collection. Lots of good stuff there. Give us another transmission on the Buddy Bass. Over.
Okay. Well, as you know, Harvey calls this radio a baby buddy. Now, I've already told you that once, but I think it's kind of cute. He helped me get it. We went through quite a time getting this thing. It came out of Sacramento, and when we got it, it had a gigantic capacitor broken in the thing, and so we reinforced that. Harvey put the capacitor in, and here it is. Beautiful radio. Thanks, Dennis, for checking it in.
Beautiful radio, looks beautiful, sounds beautiful, and that means it is beautiful here on the Old Tube Radio Network, 27085, Central California, oldtuberadio.net, everywhere else. Jumping into the green room now from the Studio B, the Jingle Singers, who are, okay, we'll make them wait. They're not at the ribbon microphoniums now. And Jerry is stepping up at 8:49. Wonder what you've got on the coax, sir. Over.
Yeah, Dennis, a couple things. First, I think someone was trying to check in, so you might ask for maybe a check-in, I don't know. And then I have a comment on Paul's Buddy Bass, but back to you.
All right, thank you for that. You're sounding good. We'll get to your radio. Was there a station? This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Was there a station that would like to check in? Over.
81 on the side.
And 81 on the side. Hello, Steve. Talking about you earlier, because I think, isn't this the week or the weeks of all the big block, long yard sales? So I thought you might be out doing that, recuperating, but you're at the radio, so you are still up and at 'em. Over.
Yeah, I'm up and at 'em. The yard sale, I believe, is the yearly yard sale is on Father's Day weekend. But right now I'm going to do something I haven't done in probably 5 or 6 years. And I don't know if this thing's getting out. Hello. A Courier 23 by ECI. Good evening time to you, OTR Next Assault.
Your radio is working. We're going to get you in as radio number 3. And thanks, Jerry, for standing by here. That is SWL 81, Mr. Unicorn Steve. I'm getting you logged in here. On the Courier 23, it's working. It's got a good signal. The audio is a little low, but I'm hearing it just fine. And on your next transmission, we'll see if we can't find a picture of the Courier 23. There's a 23 and a 23 Plus. Is that the standard 23? Over.
It is the standard 23. Beautiful radio. It's chrome-plated, black and silver case. 23 channels, range boost, and band spread. Something that I don't think I've seen on too many radios. It does have the band spread adjustment, and it's just all in all a good looking radio. I was over there, where the yard sale usually takes place, and I thought, sitting there in the corner of the room, and I thought, well, I'm going to take that home and plug it in and do something that I haven't done in a long time.
Checking in a radio, adding to the list. So when we do the totals tonight, there will be an item of interest from SWL 81, the Courier 23. I've got a couple pictures, starting with the one just like you described, the black and the silver, the black and chrome. This is a classic look for a tube radio. And somebody thinks of the utility. This is it. This isn't the fancy one with the wood. This isn't kind of the plain ones that when they first came out basically was a box with a microphone. This was, I think at the time, probably, near the top of the line or the top of the line radio, and you can tell with the S meter, the addition of the S meter, and the full 23-channel complement that you were looking at top of the line stuff. $189.50 was the sales price on that. I'm going to also switch the picture over to one in a little bit better, like a lighting situation you might have in the radio room. Back to you for another transmission. Don't be afraid to get into that microphone a little bit, but you're sounding good. Over.
Okay, well, I'm up in the microphone. It does have a modulation light, and it's got the original microphonium type item. And yeah, I don't know, maybe that helps a little bit by getting up into the microphone. Over.
Sounds good. Doing a good job. And I think on the next transmission, I'll have you do one more transmission, and on the video side, I'm going to put the S meter up, so if you watch the video back, you'll be able to give yourself a radio report. The Courier 23, you can find more information about that radio if you have a Sam's Photo Fax number 8, CB8, and back to you for transmission.
All right, I do appreciate the check-in, and yeah, it's just a good feeling to be able to put one of these old radios back in line, turn it on, and it works just fine. You know, it's been sitting there gathering dust for years, and there it is. Here's what you get. Thanks for checking in, and I'm just going to go check out the videos.
All right, and that is why we are here every Saturday, to keep those radios that you may have, the ones that transmit, of course, from gathering dust, or gathering too much dust. If you listened to Michael earlier during the SWL roll call check-in, he mentioned the smell of the dust burning off the tubes as part of the old tube radio operator experience. And indeed it is. Like those of us who, set up the real Christmas trees and get the pine trees scent, a lot of us like to key up the old tube radios and get that kind of burning dust smell. It's not as bad as you think. It's a plus from being an operator. Thanks for Radio 3. Kind of went out of order here, but that's not bad at 8:50. Let's go back in time to 8:49. And thanks, Jerry, for standing by. SWL 25, and we did not get far enough into our conversation, our QSO, for me to find out the radio, although I think I know what it might be. Hello, Jerry, over.
Yeah, you nailed it. But I did have a comment on Paul's buddy base. There's just an anomaly. Those buddies, the longer they key up, the louder they get. It's that audio tube. I don't know if they use 12AX7s or what, but whatever it does, man, and it's just not Paul's. It's everyone I've ever heard on the buddy base. The longer you key up on it, the louder it gets. So anyway, Paul, if you're listening, sound great. Anyway, I'm pretty sure you know what this one is. It's the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB sidebander. Two-piece radio, the light is on, and transmitting on a non-powered banana mic. And back to you, Dennis.
Sounds pretty good for a non-amplified microphone. That's where you come in, where you have the melodious, your mellifluous tones beaconing onto the, inserting your modulation, your audio onto the carrier, AM amplitude modulation, and the Mark III sounding good. Here's the picture for those at the video. So I'll scroll down. The top unit, what is the top unit? The top unit is the receiver. Scroll down, you can get the full transmitter underneath that. These radios are stacked on top of each other, but if you put the radios side by side, you will need almost 3 feet of radio table real estate to make things nice and pretty. Convection cooling, all these radios with the tubes don't need, or typically didn't require, I don't know of anyone that came with a cooling fan. They have the vents, convection cooling, and at 5 watts output, probably an okay thing. start running your radio at 40 or 50 watts with the modifications, you might want to cool the tubes down. The audio sounds great, as it always does. And we'll go back to you for another transmission on Radio 2. Over.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. Anyway, that's about it. It's got the spot button on it, so you can kind of calibrate, if you will, if that's the proper word, for the transmitter and the receiver to make sure that they're both on the same frequency. But yeah, and it's a radio 23 channel. Channel 1, by the way, is wired for a VFO, which I have, for kind of playing around on sideband and going places maybe outside of the CB frequencies. But anyway, I have that. I don't use it very often, but I used to have it in line, but at least I think Kevin used to do a Friday night old tube radio sideband net, which was a lot of fun. That way you can check in your sidebanders and see how far off everybody was off on frequency, but you know what? That's close enough for sideband. That's how the term came up. Anyway, thanks for checking it in. The Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Back to you, Dennis.
Back to me in the studio. And Kevin is listening, watching over at oldtuberadio.net on the TV side. And he says, aye, thanks, Kevin. The 6V6, 6 Victor 6, I believe, is the standard audio tube that gives you the audio. Maybe not the 12AX7, but I think that was one of the ones that people liked in that. They could modify it up. And you are correct. It was the decompression Friday night net ever so long ago. For those of us with sideband tube radios or sideband regular radios, checking in right here on this frequency. Has a good time. We'll have to maybe bring that back if we can. Might be kind of fun. What we're hoping to bring back is some DX conditions and get on the 10-meter AM. Radio number 2, you just heard it, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, produced live and direct from your local radio retailer from starting in 1972 and all the way through 1976 when they went to the 40-channel version. Prices range from about in the mid-600 to $750, maybe almost $800 for those radios. And that's in 1975, $76. So it was always, were you going to go and buy the used Pinto, or would you buy the brand new Browning Eagle? And for those who bought the used Pinto in 1975, where is that vehicle now? For those of you who bought the brand new Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, just like Jerry there, you know where your radio is. That was the better deal, because it's still worth what you paid for it. The Pinto, maybe not so, assuming it hasn't incinerated itself. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radio's going in the dark. Top of the hour, the Jingle Singers are over in the other studio and would like to remind you exactly what your favorite place is on Saturday night.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
The Old Tube Radio Network, 27085, Channel 11. Hello to Andy, Mr. Transistor, waving a hand from the Glowing Glass in Columbus, Ohio. I like that, the Glowing Glass. Hopefully there is some more glowing glass out there listening here at 27085, the Old Tube Radio Network, as we have an hour to go, and I will be standing by looking for radio number 4.
45.
And 45. Paul, that you step up into the air chair. Don't take a transmission just yet, but you will be next in the radio mode. Was there another station calling for OTR? Over. Okay, if they're there, they're way in my noise level. I won't be able to copy them. So, Paul, at 9:02 Pacific Daylight Time, You have procured yet another RF device in the tube category for our listening, dining, and dancing pleasure. Go ahead with your transmission. Over.
37, Dennis.
Okay, 37's in there. Joe, I'll check that out on the archives and see what you're talking about there. I'm kind of curious now. Whatever's going to be fixed, I'm sure.
Hey, Bel Air, if you call me, go. Bel Air, you up there? Go to channel 7, please.
N-12.
All right, just confirming you are on a Polycom, is that correct?
Polycom. N.
Okay. Always interesting to see if I can find the radio of the hour, of the minute. Is that a 4-channel? Over?
8-channel. This is out in, let's see, look at your picture. That is a small, yeah, you're getting closer now. I believe you got it right there, Dennis.
All right, well, let me swap over to the video side, because the 4-channel version on the N as well, I think. I'll try and bring the video level up just a little bit here, and we'll talk about the Polycom N 8-channel classic look for this vintage tube radio, probably from the early 1960s, with 8 channels, no waiting. Radio 4, Paul, give us a transmission. Over.
Yeah, they had the 8-channel, I think the 12-channel, and of course they had the 4-channel. Very similar to the thing. All they did is enlarge the thing and put more crystals in that thing.
You may go to channel 7.
This one has an investor in it too. That's why it's an investor. It says Polycom N12. The N is for an investor, and the 12 is for 12 volts. Well, I understand it anyway. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. Anyway, that investor should make it for a really hot receive on this thing. It really works well. I'm pleased they got it in there. I don't know, the old one wasn't really that bad, but this is a lot better on the thing. Anyway, it's just a big, beautiful radio. It's got that big, heavy mic on the thing. It's made, I believe, element is carbon on the thing. But anyway, the outside is zinc alloy die cast in satin chrome. That's the microphone, and it's a heavy old mic. You use it for a weapon. If you had to, you'd have the cord to sling it around. Anyway, that's about it. It's a real neat old radio.
It is I agree, it's a very neat old radio in looks, and it also is working quite fine. It's idling around the block. No problem here at 27085. The carbon microphonium. Those of you who are old enough that don't have to go to the museum and maybe actually held one in your hand, the old dial telephones that had the handset, the really heavy handset with the carbon microphonium. You used to be able to screw the little element off that you spoke into, and that round element would just fall out of the phone with the 2 contacts. You'd put it in. But that's basically what Paul's got inside his microphone there. Carbon granules, carbon element. Has the sound. It's communications frequencies. You don't need super high fidelity in the communications mode, so the carbon element works just fine. Audio is nice and loud. Signal is also good as well. If you listen to the audio playback, I think you'll be pleased. Fidelity sounds like a carbon microphone. What I like about that radio, it has room on the front. Let me see if I can point it if you're watching. There's a little white space on the front where you can actually write in or draw in your call sign. And what is that? The channel? Something else. Or unit. Call sign and unit. Because this was a licensed, when you got your radio, it came with a license form in the box. You would, before you could transmit, if you hadn't been licensed already, would you fill out the license form, send it to the FCC, and it was usually $8, $20. After a while, it was free when a lot of stations came on, but it was between $8 and $20 typically all throughout the 60s and the early 70s. You would get a call sign issued by the FCC. Mine was KEO 8492, and then you would have a unit number, whether it was Unit 1, base, Unit 2, because in theory, you were supposed to be talking to stations on your call sign, different units. You weren't supposed to be talking station to station unless maybe you were doing some business thing, but it would be base to unit 2. That was the citizen band radio thing. So they had a way for you to actually put your call and your unit number on the radio. Unlike amateur radio where you are licensed, the license belongs to the operator. In CB radio, the license belonged to the station, the radio, or the radios in that station. I'm talking too much, Paul, but I want to hear some more from the Polycom N. Back to you.
Okay, well, you talk all you want. It's all interesting, Dennis. Keep it up. My goodness. This one has no meter on it, but it does have a modulation light. Down, you can see in the picture, right about 3/4 way down where the crystals are at. But what the crystals say, 12, working and all that stuff. And it's going pretty well right now. The one on top is just a power light when it comes on. You turn on the power, and you can tell if it's on or not. So no meter, no nothing else on the thing. And you have a real nice concealed handle on the thing. And it's good and it's strong enough to pick this little heavy radio up. It's right on the top. It's hard to see. It's just kind of slides out there. And they use that for your handle to carry it around, which is very handy. Just a neat radio. I apologize for put a quality radio out, as you know. I'd like all the Polytronics radios. They're all neat. And well made, too. Made real strong. That's about it. And thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Yes, I think Polycom did some other communications devices as well. And a microphonium update. Thanks, Stan. Always good to have knowledgeable people listening in who have, as they say, been there, done that. So perhaps if that's the original microphone on the radio, Paul, you might see the word Turner somewhere on there. The Turner SR90 ceramic microphone was the original issue on that, using a ceramic cartridge. That may be the one you have on there on the Polycom. It sounds good. I'm trying to remember to put the S meter in, so if you're still on, I'm going to flip over to the S meter. If you're watching the video back, you can check all your radios via my receiver S meter here. So take another quick transmission so we can get you logged in on the S meter video. Over.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like to watch it anyway. It's neat. I got it on too. I haven't seen it, of course, you're on a delay, so it takes a while to show it. But I'm kind of curious to know what this thing will get up to. Oh, there we go. Oh, you're doing well. This thing's doing good. I'm pleased with it. Thanks, Dennis.
I'm going to say that's putting out at least, what is it, the 4-watt DC, or 5-watt input, 4-watt output. It's up there, maybe not quite as high as the Buddy bass, but well above the noise level tonight. We've got SWL 37 is standing by. I think you're going to be radio number 5, Chris. And I wanted to say hello to SMU, Sierra Mike Uniform in 8land, 219 in East Liverpool, Ohio. Hello to you watching in on the video. Thanks for tuning into the Old Tube Radio Network. We do this every Saturday, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And Mr. Unicorn, also checking in on the video side. If you're there, Chris, we've got Space Radio 5 ready for you. Over.
Okay, well, yeah, there we go. That was me keying up that you couldn't see a little bit ago, and because I didn't have the antenna switched over to the radio right, but I was surprised you even hear me, what you did hear, that you said you couldn't hear. But anyway, SWL 37 here, we're going to check in the Pretty Blue radio, the G PowerMate, the Gem Marine Products 23-channel tube, but it glows in the dark. We are running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop.
D104 is the microphonium. Let me switch over to the video here. And looks like I need to readjust the video gain from that darker radio so we can see the Pretty Blue. and other colors on the Gem Marine Products G Power Mate. And it says, from the collection of Chris. So the radio, if you're watching the video, the radio that you are looking at is the radio that is sitting in front of SWL 37. Over.
Yes, that is definitely sitting right out here in front of me, and I can actually see it.
And we can actually hear it. So right now, the green light that's on the video is showing up because that's the receive mode. And when I stop transmitting and you transmit, the green light should diminish, extinguish, and the light above it, which I think is red, should come on.
That's right. It's red. You know.
Or maybe go off. I wonder if it's showing red, even though we can't hear him.
All right, there we go. I think I got it. It could, I don't know, I had to smack it once.
Okay, do you have the red light now?
No, I had the green light when you was talking, but now I got the red light, and I said they should have put it a blue light, that way to have something to match the outside case.
You know, there you go. Reminds me of, what was it, Engineer Bill? An old TV show. It was called Red Light, Green Light. Depending on how, when the green light was on, you would drink the milk. When the red light was off, you didn't drink the milk. So we're having our red light, green light moment here.
That's right. We're in the green light, but we're in the red light now.
Yes, we are. The Gem Marine Products G Power Mate, that is one of the Panasonic AM plate modulated chassis that was shared by a few radios that will check in here occasionally, but you can never go wrong with that format under whatever clothing it might be in. Always sounding good. Radio number 5 will go to you for a transmission, and thanks for bringing that by. Over.
You bet you will. You know me, I will be back with another that I had the antenna onto, which I was on, but I was on this one here, and the antenna was on the other one, so anyway, I had to switch it down, I switch it back and get on the other one, so that way I could talk on this one. Or that one.
Yeah, what he said.
Try to repeat all that, huh?
25, and hello, Chris.
And hello, 25. Oh, Jerry, get you signed in here. Coming up to the air chair. Rayovac watching the video. Picked up a Tram TR-27. Only made 100 in 1962. Can't find a pic on the internet. We have the TR-27C. The TR-27E. The check-in. Now, a plain TR-27. I'm not sure if we have a picture, if there's a difference, but we have the E's check-in. Radio number 6 checking in now from SWL 25. Can you hear me, Jerry? Over.
And hello, Jerry.
Hi, Dennis. It's sounding good, and everyone is sounding great. Anyway, checking in on a general radio telephone, MC5, from downtown Burbank, California. Back to you.
Back to me in the studio. I've put up, if anyone's watching the video, that is the wrong picture. That's called a sidebander. What we're looking for, and we'll use Paul, who's been checking in tonight. I'm going to use a photo from his collection. General radio telephone. I'll adjust it here so we can we'll cut off a little bit of the bottom of the radio, but I want everybody to see that large microphonium, which you may or may not be using. You may have something different. But it's sounding good. Over.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. Well, it's been a project and, working in the works with a lot of help from some good friends. But we got this thing back on the air. I know there's something goofy going on with the audio. Could be the tube, I'm not sure. But anyway, at least it's working well enough to get it checked in. VFO, what do we have? 8-channel crystal control. And of course, we have the VFO receive. And we have one other little item of interest on this radio. Over.
Many items of interest. General Radio Telephone MC5. Yeah, the audio is loud, but it has... imagine if you were talking through a kazoo. with that kind of wax paper fuzziness in the audio. That's what's going on. But the audio is there. It just has that... fuzzy isn't even the word. Maybe it is the word, but it's on the air. It's an old tube radio network. We never complain when someone takes the time to put their collection up and risk life and limb and smoke and flames to get us another check-in. We have Radio 6. The picture is showing, let me go through, there's the receive VFO, that's the rotary dial there. It has I think it's 5-channel crystal control. There is an S meter, which was a big plus back in the day, and then there's a switch under the S meter, and that's probably what we're going to be talking about on your next transmission. Go ahead.
You know there's a breaker out there. Go ahead and take it, Dennis.
All right, stand by, Jerry. I'll see if it might be somebody far out. The breaking station for OTR, I'm not sure if you can hear me. This is the old tube radio net control, over.
Yeah, I can barely hear you guys. This is 5150 north.
I'm 37 standing by also.
Haven't been out there, got the tower all the way up on this old tram G201, and I don't know if it's working or not, but I haven't fired it up in over 2 years, so I better get out here and see if anybody can even hear this radio.
We can hear you. Yeah, we were just talking to a general radio telephone, and I understand the antenna is a bit low over there in Millerton. 5150 SWL 110 checking in. He's on the tram D201. So if you can hear me there, take another transmission. We've got you checked in and logged in, and it's good to have you on the list. It's been a while, like you said. Over.
Well, I appreciate it. I think that was Dennis. I could already hear it. I think you had me checked in on this old tram D201. All right, Dennis. Well, I'll take it on the side. I got the tower. Quality goes up, and I was hoping I was going to make it down there to your Fresno station. 5150 will be on site.
And 5150 SWL 110 checking in. It's good to hear that. Let me get some video on the screen, and I've got you acknowledged there, Chris, for the next radio. The radio we were talking about is the General Radio Telephone Super MC5. Jerry, I don't know what it is tonight. When you check in, you seem to bring in other stations that we haven't heard for a while, or have something that is really important to say. So I applaud you for doing that, and also standing by while we take the traffic. So radio number 6, the General Radio Telephone MC5. Let's go back to you, and we'll talk about that secret switch, maybe not so secret switch that is under the S meter. Over.
Well, first of all, Dennis, not a problem, man. If I hear somebody want to check in, I'll stand by. That doesn't bother me at all. As you know, I'm net control for another frequency on Wednesday nights, so I've just learned it just comes natural. But anyway, the MC5 does have a secret little switch, the tone signal, which I believe was the FCC did away with, but I'd be happy to demonstrate if you would like. Over.
We'll take a test. It's called the tone signal. In my early days of CB, I heard it a lot. Less for signaling and more for jamming, which may be why on this radio, the MC5, the next radio, the MC6, the FCC told them, you take that switch out of there, and they replaced it with the bullhorn. But it was referred to as the Tweety Bird. So we'll see how much your Tweety Bird tweets. Over.
Well, hopefully it tweeted to you. Anyway, Dennis, thanks for checking in. General Radio Telephone MC5, and you're right, it's 5-channel crystal control, not 6, like I previously said. So, anyway, thanks for checking it in, Dennis. Back to you.
Yeah, I like that oscillation. Maybe sounds more like something out of the Sputnik, out of the Martian probe, than the Tweety Bird. Doing a good job. Radio 6, the General Radio Telephone Super, not Super, but the MC5. I was going to talk a little bit about that. Sold for about $200 in 1963, 1962. It was late 62 that came out. If you've got some of the old CB magazines from like November, December 1962, you just might see a full-page, half-page ad from General Radio Telephone featuring that particular radio, the MC5. Their most advertised general radio telephone, a lot like the MC4, but a little bit stronger in the transmit department. And, of course, like we were talking, the last general with the tone signal, thanks to the decree from the FCC, replaced with the bullhorn on the MC6. The MC5 came with the ceramic chrome-plated electro-voice microphonium. Could run 6-volt DC, 12-volt DC, or 115-volt AC, depending on the plug that you had in the back, and it was 7 tubes, all 6 volts. There's a schematic available at oldtuberadio.com, and one of those recently sold on eBay about 6 months ago for the same price, about $199. Same price you could get it for in 1962. So these things hold their value quite well. Thanks, Jerry, for another cool radio here on the Old Tube Radio Network. That's what we'd like to do. Stand by for our collectors to stop by and give us a sound, what it might have been like, for those of you who don't remember or maybe not have been around, in the 1960s and 70s when you were listening on the CB radio, and the only thing you could hear were those tube radios. Speaking of tube radios, we have radio number 7 from Mr. Chris, I do believe. Over.
That's right. And Jerry, hello. I'm sorry I didn't get to say hello. I was changing microphones when you said that, so I want to say hello back to you. And I love your comment that you said, get by with a little help from your friends. Remind me of the Beatles. Get by with a little help from my friends. You know, that song. Sounding good, Dougie Jerry. Anyway, Dennis, I got to do something there. There we go. I would like to check in this tuber.
I am ready for you with tube radio list in hand, and it says Radio 7 is the next one at 9:25 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Go ahead, sir.
And speaking of 7, you know there is actually 7 knobs on the front of this radio. Yeah. 4 down there, 2 right there in the channel, so like that makes 7 knobs. So that's doing pretty good for number 7. Anyway, I would like to check in my Courier Royale 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark, and like I said, this is one with all the knobs and the blinking lights off in there, and the mysterious knob hidden in the back for the, or it's not a knob, it's a little stem sticking out. You use a screwdriver on, or actually it's kind of a rough knob, but you can turn it in a little screw type thing. But anyway, that's got that on there, and we are running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop. Over.
Switching the picture over to the Courier Royale. You fooled me on that one. Each week, each month, that Courier audio improves and sounds a little bit better and a little bit cleaner. I would almost want to go back in the archives about a year or so ago and listen to the Courier and compare it to how it sounds now. I don't know if you've changed anything on it. Maybe the radio is sort of baking itself in, but boy, that sounds really, really good tonight. I honestly thought you were on the general radio telephone when you first keyed up. That's how good that radio is sounding.
Well, believe it or not, the radio has been sitting here on for an hour and 25 minutes, so it had time to warm up quite well.
Sounding good, all 11 tubes. A few more than our prior radio. Got some 12-volt tubes. Does it have a 12AX7 in the audio? It doesn't look like it. But it does have the Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter helping on the receive, and there's a service manual at oldtuberadio.com. From Courier, this probably, I think, was their last tube radio. It was the top of the line between the 23 and the 23 Plus, and there were some others. But this was, in their advertisements, the radio that was made for the CEO of the company. You know, when the guy that drove the Lincoln Continental or the Cadillac Eldorado, this was the radio that that the CEO would come home to. The Courier Royale, as you said, with plenty of knobs and dials to keep you busy. Over.
Yes, it does. You know, this thing's got, on and off, squelch knob, volume, right there. Then it's got the tone. Then, here's what it has. Over here is a squelch. Then it has tone. You can change the tone, high pitch, low, whatever. Then it has the volume. Then it has the tune. Then it has sensitivity, range, and then quieting. So, this thing's got, they were getting ready to come with this one.
I never thought of it. I don't know if Courier made anything for the amateur radio or not. They were certainly a decent company for transmitter receiver, but you might be right. Actually, what was happening, a lot of the ham radio guys at this time, late 60s, a lot of them, I won't say a lot of them, but some of them jumped into the CB and the Citizen band when they saw that the amount of licenses flying out of the FCC for Citizen band was greater than the amount of licenses flying out of the FCC for amateur radio. So some of them did make the switch over, see if they could garner a little bit of activity that way. But I'm not sure about Courier. Sounding good. And like I said, I think it sounds better than it did a year ago. Maybe even last week. You can go 12-volt DC, run the thing mobile if you want with proper cable, and you can find out more if you have a Sam's PhotoFax CB14. I've got the S-meter up. You can take a transmission and check your S-meter on the video.
Well, yeah, a lot of the guys, even the ham operators, a lot of them, a lot of them did start off on CB, and then they went into the ham, but, they always come back down here because they know there's a lot of people like you and Jerry.
Some of us. I'm not sure if I fit in that category, but a lot of the stations that do check in here are ham radio operators as well. And I like to think of it as it's like walking down the block and you can go to the park. There's more things to do, more places to see. So why be limited to just the 23 channels and it's radio? And if you are a radio operator already, that's usually half the battle. You know how to tune and speak into a microphone, and so all you need to do is learn some rules and regs and what frequencies you need to be on, a few other things for the amateur radio test, and away you go. And then you've got all sorts of more radio real estate you can jump in on. Radio number 7 is the Courier Royale. We'll ask Chris to take another transmission on that before he goes. Thanks for bringing it by. Over.
You betcha. And again, Jerry, good evening time to you. You always sound excellent over this way. Don't listen to anybody else. You always sound good in my neighborhoods. Anyway, so Dennis, you always sound great. So anyway, that's no question there. But I thank you, and I've got another one warmed up here, but I have to go take some meds and take a shot and everything real quick before it goes too much longer. I'm already 30 minutes behind, so I need to get those meds in my body before I shut down. So I will be back to check in a couple more.
All right, thank you. Don't get behind. We're behind here at the Old Tube Radio Network at 9:31. The Jingle Singers having a good time in the other studio, but up at the Redmond Microphoniums right now to tell us about that friendly place on Saturday evenings.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
The Old Tube Radio Network, listening for radio number 8.
45.
Like the best day fishing. You throw that line out there and you get a bite immediately. Hello, Paul. I bet you are radio number 8. Over.
Yeah, I'm glad, boy. This sounds like the old times now. This is great. I think we're going to make a 10 plus tonight, which sounds good. Anyway, I'd like to check in on a lot newer radio than I have been checking in. It's my Midland 13-890.
Midland, who made a lot of 11-meter radios. I think most of them were solid state. And I was actually kind of surprised when you came up with the one you've got there, the 13890. Let me dump, we're looking at the Orban loudness meter. Let me get rid of that and see if I can grab it in there. There it is, the 13890. A very fancy, modern-looking radio, and I can see just barely in the top case that there are holes, there are vents for the convection cooling. If I didn't know otherwise, I would think that maybe that was one of their fancy solid-state radios, but I would be wrong. It's sounding good for Radio 8. Give us a transmission on the Midland 13890, over.
Okay, well, this is another one manufactured in Japan, but I guarantee it doesn't look like any of the rest of them manufactured in Japan. It's real clean on the inside, everything like they usually do the thing. It's got 24 channels in the thing, 23 for CB at that time, of course, and the 24th was for PA, which that's the first one I've seen they put PA in one of the slots rather than another crystal. Well, this thing, I didn't get the factory microphone with it. I'm running the Turner JM plus 2U microphone, and it seems to be like it all right, so I hope it continues on it. Yeah, it's a neat looking radio. It's real pretty. It's long and not very tall, but it's long and wide, and just real classy looking with brushed aluminum front. It's got the real nice paint job on the thing, polished aluminum front, and the black case on the thing. It's got all the goodies in it that you need. A small meter on the thing, which is kind of disappointing, but it's got like a digital readout on the channel selector on the thing, but I know it's not. It's just the way they have the lights set up. Just I don't believe it is a hybrid. I don't think at all. There's no information on this thing anywhere at all, Dennis. I found one other one on the web, on the sites, and then mine. There's the two radios in there. No information, no schematics, no nothing on the thing. The serial number on this thing says 90500, then with a space 128. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if 128 wasn't for the radios that they made at that particular time, because this thing has not been advertised at all. And I wish I could find some more information on it, schematics or anything. And that's about it. I'll tell you, it's just a neat radio.
Neat looking and neat sounding on your next transmission go-around. I will, if I remember, pop up the S meter and another one. This is your loud collections coming through tonight. I also tried to look for some information. I'm coming up with nothing. I thought, well, maybe I could come up with the Sam's photo fax, or we'd have a schematic at oldtuberadio.com, but nothing. I wonder if this was a Panasonic chassis from Japan, or this could have been like the Lafayette versions, like, what is it, the Comstat 25B? Sort of looks like that. Certainly has good audio. I'm looking at the picture, and I think I'm seeing if this is from your collection. It says it's from your collection. I'm sort of thinking that there's one knob on there that might not be original, but it could be. It just doesn't match the sort of chicken head style knob on the. I don't know what the control that is on the side by the channel selector, but it looks good. I know it's got a modulation light, and however you're doing it, it should be illuminating quite intensely because the audio is good. I'll switch over to the S meter for your next transmission, and again, you'll be able to compare it with the other radios checking in. We're talking with Paul on the kind of elusive and rare Midland 13890 tube radio. Go ahead, Paul, over.
Is this noise limiter right below the channel selector, if that's what you're talking about. The rest of it is fine-tuned, squelched volume, and on the upper on and off, it's got a standby switch on the right-hand side.
You run it three ways. Down below that's PA, and then of course the little bitty meter up there in the middle. And the red modulation light on the left is flashing real loud right now. That phone is below that, microphone hooked in before that. Below that. Well, this is completely different, Dennis, than the other one made by Panasonic. Just completely different, so I can't believe it's made by it, but you never know. Back to you.
Yeah, that's a standby switch, and that alone in itself is kind of an interesting concept and an addition that there may only be one or other two radios that have the standby, or would keep the heater, the elements, the heaters on, but put the radio to standby mode. So I agree with it. Very, very different, but. As always, our astute radio operators come through on the Old Tube Radio Network and give us the stuff that you don't hear anymore, or you don't hear a lot of. And I wonder if there's anyone out there that's listening or watching at some point in time that has one of these on their shelf. Leave a comment. If you're watching the video a year from now and it's still up and you're watching it, you can leave a comment on the page if you know anything about the radios, and we'll hopefully check it out, and that will help us out here at Old Tube Radio Network when we talk about these things, because your knowledge becomes our knowledge as well. Radio number 8, it's sounding good, Paul. Thanks for bringing it by. Over.
Yeah, okay, I missed something. I don't know what I said that I've got 1968, the effector date on the thing. I think that's all that's played in the back. That's the only reason why I got it, because I have nothing else on the thing. And that's it, Dennis. Thanks a million for checking. I'll be listening. It's great news tonight.
Indeed. Jingle Singers coming up to the ribbon microphones in the other studio. They're having a good time over there. And I wanted to make a comment about the Dayton Ham Vention coming up next weekend. I have never been to one. I know people that have flown from California out here to Dayton. It is the big, back when they used to have the CB break jamborees, there was one in California that was in Bakersfield. I went once, I think it was 1973. It's like the big state CB jamboree. This is the big state, United States ham jamboree, if you will, the Dayton. I don't even know if it's Dayton, they call it Dayton anymore, but it's the Dayton Ham Vention, or the Ham Vention, if it's still at Dayton. And that is next weekend. So look for a lot of manufacturers. In fact, all of the manufacturers are out with booths and tables. And typically the week prior to Dayton Ham Vention, they have their Dayton specials. So if you're looking for some radio or something, check all your favorite dealers, because they may have their Dayton Ham Vention special. And Steve, I will take anything you can ship to the Old Tube Radio Network. We'll be ready for it. The Jingle Singers are ready, telling us the latest style for your Old Tube Radio.
You're listening in the latest style.
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
Listening for radio number 9.
37.
All right, we've got 37. Step up into the air chair. Chris, you'll be number 9, and there was another station. Over.
25, and hello, Chris, and everybody else. Sounding good. I'll be standing by.
All right, Jerry, you'll be number 10. Jingle Singers are retreating from the stage, and I'm sure they will be happy to find some tasty items for you there in the studio, in the green room. Thanks. Radio number 9 from the collection of SWL 37. Mr. DDX Ray wanted to know if you, and I know the answer to this because I know you are a teetotaler, but he wanted to know if you were heading to the liquor cabinet to get that shot you were talking about.
Yes, I did. I did. I did get that shot. Had to lower the sugar.
All right, and you sound much better for doing that. Actually, you sound just the same as you did, but I bet you feel better. Tell us about Radio 9, over.
Yeah, I do, Phil. Well, I have to take it for I'm a diabetic, so got to take those shots. I have my 24-hour shot. I got some other ones I take when I eat. So, but anyway, I want to check in my Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver. We are running this here also on the original handheld stock microphone, and it says Chris on it also, so I know it is a original.
Switching to the photo of the original Chris 23 Plus with the original microphonium. And then I guess as far as tube radio operators go, we could say you are the original Chris at the microphonium as well, over.
Oh, most definitely. Absolutely. No doubt about it in my mind, if it's still in the right place.
Yeah, sometimes mine is elsewhere. This also is, I think, a Panasonic chassis. Let's see if it tells me anything about that. Yeah, Japan, AM plate modulated, 11 tubes. It has that look. It's got the 12AX7 in the audio, which is why it sounds so good. Go back to you for a transmission on the Chris. Does that have, I'm looking to see if that has a range booster, range expand switch, and I don't think it does. It just sounds good naturally.
Well, it has the band spread on it, for receive only. That's about all that I know on it there. But let's see, all it has is squelch, which the squelch thing is also the on and off knob, which well, no, it's not the on and off knob, but it puts it on standby mode is what it does. You turn it all the way off, it goes to standby. Of course, you can't hear nothing out of it. And, of course, you got your volume knob for turning it on. And you got your band spread. Like I say, receive, like someone's got a radio that's got a little bit off frequency. Hopefully, if you got enough room, you can turn it one way or the other to tune them in better, which I use periodically on some cases. But don't have to do it too often, actually, which makes it kind of nice, because there's so darn many good sounding radios out there. You just put it in a happy medium spot and say, that'll do it.
The Happy Joy radio. We did a demonstration. Was it you? I did the demonstration with last week of the band spread and how it works, or if it works, for tuning in stations slightly off frequency to the north or the south of the high side or the low side of the channel. Also works great when skip is going on and you've got the 20 dB over S9 noise level and you've got that one station, or maybe you have a station that you can actually tune a little bit off of center frequency, and then you use your band spread or your delta tune and run down and you get rid of the center channel hash, and out comes the audio for the radio. So it can be tricky. It can come in handy. Radio number 9, the Chris 23 Plus, popping up the S meter, and I want to say hello to Timtron up there in the Pacific Northwest. Also mentioning that he would love to go to Dayton. I would too. If I worked it right, I've got a brother who lives in Kansas. So Dayton is probably, I don't know, 4 hours, maybe? I don't know. It's certainly more than the 34 hours it is from here. Just to say I could do it once. I went to one of the ARRL West Coast things in San Diego one time, but that's not quite Dayton. Chris, you are sounding good, and we're glad that you are working the radio room tonight with radio number 9. We will go back to you for another transmission. Make that modulation light wink and blink. Thanks for bringing by the Chris 23 Plus. Over.
You betcha. And I beat you going to Kansas. I've done it in almost 26 hours. The only time I did anything is to stop, get gas, and to eat. Other than that, I just kept it going and go to the bathroom and stop over for that. But, I've done it in 26, 27 hours at the most, right there on my quickest times. But there's other times when I moved back to that one time, it took me about 48 hours because I had to stop because I had that little Chevelle driving back there with a trailer on it. And, it hit a lot of snow, so we had to stop a few times. But anyway, that was it. Anyway, Dennis, thank you for letting me check this one in on my Chris 23 Plus with the original handheld stock microphone, and I got one more to go, but I know you got a number 10 out there, and I will be back. Hopefully I can make number 11.
You just might do that, because we have number 10 standing by as Chris steps off the podium and going up the steps is, who is that? Who is that way over there? It looks like Jerry, SWL25, over.
Yes, it is, Jerry, and hello, Chris, and boy, good, boy, your radios are sounding good tonight. So is Paul's. 25 checking in on the little sonar Model G with a stock sonar microphone. What do we have here? 8-channel crystal controlled with a VFO spot button. In fact, I just did the spot thing and just to mess with it and brought you right in. So, but anyway, that's about it, Dennis. The sonar Model G dual conversion that Scotty we used to check the radio in. But anyway, back to you, Dennis.
I had to smile when that keyed up. I knew exactly you were on the sonar. There's the only other radio you have that sounds that has that loud, piercing audio is the general radio telephone. But the sonar has its own sound, and it was so loud, and with this browser I've got and the way I have to do the video, it resets my audio control. It turns it down. It goes in, and the little internet thing says, I can't possibly want that much audio, so it turns down my audio level, and I have to go physically back into the window and turn it back up because it's trying to be nice and correct. But I don't have to do that. What I do need to correct is the video here, so we can see the radio and the very large microphone. Do you have the big, large sonar microphone? Maybe that's why it's so loud. Over.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the stock. Maybe I'll pull it away from a little bit and talk across the face of it. But yeah, it's the big old. We called them a bread box or something. I don't know what they had, some kind of a nickname for this big old handheld Broderick Crawford type microphone. But anyway, yeah, the sonar Model G, 8-channel transfer, receive and VFO, and I'm talking maybe about 10 inches away now. So hopefully, maybe that's not too loud.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. It sort of feathered out the edges of the envelope. I don't have a scope here, but I bet if I was watching a scope, you were like perfect right now, and it's still very loud. I think Crazy Bob calls that the piece of toast. Something about a piece of toast on that microphone. So it may be the size of a slice of bread. But it's big. I mean, you can tell the microphone is big just from the radio, and the radio is not. It's a compact where it can run mobile, but it's not that small. The sales price, $229.50. So this was up there a ways for a radio that wasn't 23-channel transmit and receive. It was 23-channel receive, but not a transmit. So typically the prices from $150 to $230, $240. That was typical. And then you got into the trams and the general radio telephone and buddies, or rather not the buddies, but the satellites. You'd pay a little bit more. But well worth it, and I bet they're commanding those prices today. It's just really incredible to hear a radio that vintage sounding so good. We'll go back to you for a transmission. I think everything is in order. You don't need to touch a thing. The Sonar Model G is what we'll be listening to, and what I'll do is I'll pop up the S meter. Let me do that before I turn it over to you so we don't have the audio glitch. And there you go. Give us one more transmission. Over.
7. Yeah, okay. Sounds good, Dennis, and thanks for checking in, and hello, Chris, and back to you guys.
Back to us in the studio, the old Tube Radio Network at 951, where we've got radio number 11 online. I'll keep the S meter up. We'll start with the S meter on this one. Chris, hello, radio.
And hello again, Dennis. And Jerry, your radios always sound loud over here. Of course, we're just on one side of the river and you're on the other side of the river, so that's probably why. Nah, that's not the only reason. You just got a good bodacious station. But anyway, Dennis, this here with 100% modulation where it shows up here on the meters. I would like to check in my general radio telephone, the Super MC11A, 24-channel version of this in here, with the old man in the wheelchair sitting up there. But we're running this here with a handheld stock microphone over.
Stock audio, you gotta love it. Is it possible to get on a radio today? You know, this is pre-limiters and FCC rules that you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that, and I think it might not be possible. Making some video adjustments so we can see the great picture provided by Cliff SWL 135 of his Super MC11A tuned to channel 11 with the glowing dial and the S meter and all the good things, even the rack handles. I'm assuming yours still has the rack handles on the front, over?
Yes, it does, and like you say, the glowing green dial there with the numbers with the black lettering.
I was trying to think, who else? There was only one other, it might have been one of the trams, one of the tram titans that did the rack handle thing that looked more like professional audio gear or test gear, and didn't catch on with anybody else, but general radio telephone sure liked it. Maybe it was just easier for them to work things on the bench. You managed to do, I know you tried to do the 1111 thing, and tonight here, and apropos, since it is May 11th, you're the 11th radio with the general radio telephone Super MC11. So you got a triple plan this one, over.
Hell, I should have went and got lottery tickets tonight.
Yeah, make sure 11 is one of them. I don't know. Do they have, I don't even know when they do the thing. Is there a Saturday night drawing?
Yeah, there's a Tuesday, Wednesday, and then there's a Friday, Saturday.
Well, we'll get one tomorrow. So maybe you'll get the $5 bonus scratcher or something like that. Well, you did well. I think we got the entire fleet in there tonight. Oh, I was going to mention briefly anything about the Super MC11A 9-tubes. We've been kind of jumping between 7-tube radios, 11-tube radios. This is the 9-tube, the 12AX7. It does have the mic as a 12AX7, and the ECLL 800. It said in December, one of those sold on eBay in really good working condition for $282, which is well above the original list price, which I think was $190 or something like that. Keep that radio; it's a good one.
Well, you know, years ago when I first got this radio, Jerry, he was kind of impressed with this way it sounded. And he come on there, he told me he just seen one on the internet or whatever it was, on whatever you go to where they buy the radios. Anyway, he's seen one on there go for just a little bit over $300. And that's been, well, how many years have I had this radio? Do you know?
I don't know, 20 years maybe?
Oh, no. I haven't had it that long. I'm saying roughly, I don't know, 10, 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I just, for those watching the video, I just popped up the Orban loudness meter. You are pushing that thing off the scale tonight.
Well, now, I'm looking at my watt meters. My goodness. I'm keying up about 8, swinging to 10, modulation 100%. I got the meters up here. I mean, it's showing some swing in this thing.
If we were to have, and we probably won't get it before we sign out tonight, which is coming up, if we were to have some E-skip, I'm sure they would be maybe hearing me, but definitely hearing you on that radio stock with the great audio. General Radio Telephone Super MC11A, glowing in the dark the way we like it on the old Tube Radio Network. Back to you for a transmission. And thanks for bringing by the videos tonight, over.
Okay. You know, that one night I did talk to Washington up there in Seattle or somewhere up there when OTR was going. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah, I do. I think it was 709 out of Spokane.
Yeah, so, I know how to get out there and reach out and touch somebody sometimes.
And you know what? You don't get a bill at the end of the month. That's what I like about this.
Oh, I know it. Don't you love it? Just like I love the Kenwood, like here the other night. What's today? Wednesday, Saturday? Thursday night, yes. I was sitting here at evening, and Larry called me, get on the radio. Somebody's out there, which was letting me know that Gary was out there from Shiloh, Arizona. And I turned it on, let it sit there for about 3 seconds, and I know where to key it up when this thing's cold. So anyway, I had it sit there just perfectly, and I keyed it up. It says, hello, Gary, 086. And I told him about, 241. Chris! Just a boom, boom, boom. It worked out really quick for me. So, I can't complain.
You could, but it would be pointless. Sounding good, sir. The Jingle Singers are wanting to do one more item. Which one have they got? Because it's 9:58. It's going quick tonight. We've had a lot of good radios and a good time. This is what it sounded like back in the day, whatever that means. The 60s and 70s when these radios were brand new, and a lot of them sounded like they are brand new, including your General Radio Telephone. Thanks, Chris, for your efforts tonight.
You betcha me, and I'm back on the wood.
On the KW, sounding good. The Old Tube Radio Network, counting and amounting and looking for your last-minute check-ins as we head over to the Jingle Singers to remind us.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us.
Old Tube Radio.
And be modern.
We've got room for Radio 12, if you got one. The Break OTR. Hello, Radio.
195, check it in.
SWL 195, doing a good job. I figured it's a nice evening out there tonight, and I thought there's a lot of people that might be out at the barbecue or doing something that requires you to not be sequestered in the radio room, but glad you snuck in tonight. And 195 is on the big board and sounding good, over.
Thank you, Dennis. I didn't mean to be late.
Not a problem. The 6L6 is still glowing, and I was counting and amounting at page 1, so I will add an extra one on page 4, OTR listening.
All right. You got room for a brownie?
It's sort of like Jell-O. There's always room for a Browning Golden Eagle, over.
Ooh. Why did that squeal not work? Please tell me this is still working.
Or in this case, maybe a Browning Eagle.
Okay. That squeal sounds a little more normal. Yeah, this is it's the only Browning in this particular stable. Browning R27 S23, and I guess, this isn't a Golden Eagle. It's a regular black painted eagle on the transmitter.
Yes, that is the original Eagle, the R27 S23. What am I looking at here? Let's ditch the Orban loudness meter for a picture of the R27 S23 with the extra, ignore the 180 business amp, which Mike is not running because he doesn't need to. But everything else is sitting on his radio desk, with the exception of, I know you are not using the D104, right? You have the standard, was it Electro Voice or the 667 microphonium? The banana mic, as we call it. my sentiments exactly.
I think so.
I wonder if the transmitter or the receiver changed frequencies.
I hear you on 11.
Yeah, his receive dropped out on him.
Well, let's see.
Hello, radio.
Oh, my God. All right, is this working now?
It is working now, over.
Okay. Well, I lost you mid-transmission there. This is a Browning R27S23 that's got a knob that is rather crusty, and receive does not work unless you play with it. I believe it is, which one is it? My function? Let's see. Yeah, I think it's the fixer manual receive. Something's not happy here.
As those of us who are familiar with tube radios know, sometimes like an old guy, like the old guy that I am, you have to do that thing where you move your arms up and down and above your head and do the deep knee bends. That's the equivalent of those little contacts and dials and things that touch just kind of getting corroded. So like you often need to walk around the block occasionally, and that's why we're here at the Old Tube Radio Network, so you can turn those knobs and adjust the little clicky switches so that those things don't happen so often.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad that I can not agree, because I actually heard you through your entire transmission there. Boy, that was joyful.
It's working. You did well on the knob adjustment. It'll probably stay good for another couple of transmissions. The transmitter has been, as far as I can tell, has been flawless on radio. I don't have you marked down yet. You're radio 12 at 9:58. Is that the first Eagle? No, the first Browning. No, that's our second Browning of the evening, because we had the Mark III from Jerry. So this is retrograde to just the Eagle. And I say just, not as a derogatory thing, but it's, they had to make the radio bigger to get that Golden Eagle on there.
I suppose so. Well, I don't know. You're infinitely more qualified to describe this radio to our listeners, but I will say that one of my favorite features on this is on the transmitter, on the right-hand side of the transmitter. The case actually has these little outward perforation little things that at one point in time would hold your I guess your station ID card from the FCC. I know every time I bring that up, it kind of makes me want to go on eBay and try and go purchase someone's old ID card. I know they're floating around there occasionally. I don't have one to stick in there, but I guess it's still cool nonetheless. I don't know. Maybe I'll print one up for myself.
Yeah, make it original stuff. I don't have a side view. At least in the arsenal here, I don't think I'll have a side view that would show that. And as we were talking earlier about the station license, it would make sense that the license would be affixed to the station, or maybe the Unit 1 or base, because that's sort of how it was granted. The Browning Eagle Series 2, which I think you have, there's a Series 1, Series 2 base station, consists of the R27 Series 2 receiver, which is the larger unit, the S23 Series 2 transmitter. Some differences between the earlier versions are the larger meters, neon modulation indicator, which I think you have, little orange blinky-dee thing, and the lighted on-the-air indicator, which... Where does that show up? That's the S meter. Oh, okay. It's on the transmitter. It's the thing opposite the S meter, I think.
Yeah, on the right hand, it's pretty darn close to the where the station ID card would be. Yeah, it's got this ginormous on-the-air lamp that looks pretty cool. The font on it's great. I guess each word kind of slants downwards to the right. So someone who was feeling rather stylistic when they designed that. I guess I'm trying to remember what the rest of these radios look like. You're gonna have to help me out. I thought I remember seeing on the air lamps on the other Brownings that came after this one. I thought I remember seeing those on the air lamps on the receivers. Boy, I'm not kidding. I haven't even looked at one of these things on eBay in at least a couple of years. Maybe you can clarify that. The on-air lamp, were these usually on the transmitters? It seems like they would be. I think they're on the receivers.
On the Mark III, if those have a Mark III, under the big receiver, the speaker where the Golden Eagle is flying, the red on-the-air light is under that. So they did change things around a bit. The designers getting in there saying, what can we do? So it would be interesting to know how they came up with the eagle head logo for that. I mean, it's just a printed, it's not a physical applique like the Flying Eagle. Why they came up with an eagle, who knows? World's finest CB base station, $359. We were looking at the sonar just probably a couple years prior to that at $229, thinking that was a lot of money. But see, this is all 23 channels, all the crystals, big stuff. So $259,1965 is, I don't know, what's that, like thousands of dollars today, or at least certainly more than $359. Radio 12 sounding good. Let me go back to you for a transmission at 10:09. See if there's any other items of interest out there, or maybe you want to get in another radio. I think Harvey might be wandering into the Radio Shack as well. We'll keep it going here for a while if people want to keep radios coming our way, but everything is working now. We want to make sure before you set that one aside that everything is functional and operational to your liking. Over.
Yeah, it's definitely worked to my liking. It'd be nice to have a match guy tube on this one, but obviously that's not going to happen. No, it's working great. I guess I forgot it's been a while since I've had to kind of improvise there to get the receiver working. But no, I guess it's worked great. Everyone sounds wonderful. Smells great. And as always, thanks for being out there for us to use these just little delightful pieces of machinery. Thank you.
And thank you, the Old Tube Radio Network, counting and amounting. And if you've got a radio ready to go, we'll take it before we sign out here tonight.
Break 11.
Or perhaps a check-in on one of our various little listoids here. The Break 11, go ahead.
Hello, Dennis. How the heck are you, man? 70 late check-in, please.
70 on the big board, and 70 on the paperwork. Did you perchance attend the FARC meeting last night?
I did not.
Okay, nor did I. I actually had my schedule kind of rearranged and changed so that I could, and then right at the last moment something came up, and I kind of wanted to go because it was Mr. Fennessy. YEP was doing a discussion about the history, and if anybody knows history, it's Pat, about Fresno and radio broadcasting in Fresno, and he was doing a history of the Fresno Amateur Radio Club, and I think they had some of the Skip magazines from the 30s, and it sounded interesting, and I wanted to go, and I did not, so I was trying to, what do they say, live vicariously through your attendance, but you weren't there either.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I think, he and I think Ken Holden was going to do some stuff too. But yeah, agree. Yeah, Pat's he's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of info. But I missed that. You know, actually, I don't know what happened in Fresno on Thursday night, but we got one heck of a windstorm up here. And we had two incidents. One had a tree go down, and luckily it didn't break any cars or house or anything, but a couple guys let go on my mast and my hex. Uh-oh. Hang on a sec.
'Tis the season. And while you're checking there, about 4 p.m. we started at the radio station, started getting the EAS flash flood beacon warnings up in the hills, up in Mariposa County and Tulare County. And you look out, and it wasn't that bad. You could see the big thunderhead clouds up in the mountains. And then as the evening wore on, and it got darker and darker, but it was to the north, up in your area, and at least for central Fresno, we got the wind and a little bit of rain, and you could see the lightning and the flashes, but it was all north of where I was. So I'm hearing reports that the farther north or in the hills you were, the altitude, things were a bit nasty. I wonder if your transmitter is working again. Over. I know it's not windy. But like most of us here in Central Fresno, I had a lot of debris that blew out of the trees, which is sort of like Mother Nature does these things. It's all little dead leaves and pine needles and stuff that I have to clean up tomorrow. But that's an okay thing. When it starts blowing the trees over and doing bad things, that's another story. I wonder if he had a power outage or something. SWL 70, I'll stand by here. See if Mark's station has come back. He may have some power issues or something else. Maybe that final guy wire. No, I wouldn't think that. Any other stations wanting to check in? And if you're back, Mark, we'll continue the QSO. Anybody else needing to check in here? The Old Tube Radio Network. Turn the RF gain down a little bit. And speaking of check-ins, there's SWL 13. Hi, Mike. Probably at one of the many events. SWL 13. He's sort of like the man about town, attending various items of interest. Thank you, 13. Got you checked in. The other stations, OTR, are listening, and if Mark is still there, we're listening for you too. Well, even the jingle singers want to get in the act here before we sign out.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
Break OTR.
You must be on a big delay, thinking it's still 9:30. Break OTR, go ahead.
And number 20, with the R68T68 by Browning Laboratories. By the way, that Buddy Bass that you showed on the stream with the big speaker, that's how it came. And the on-the-air lights, the original one from, I think, an original speaker, but I didn't get the speaker with it. I got that big giant thing. I picked up the radio because they said the transmitter put out a carrier, but no audio, and the receiver didn't work. Well, they didn't wire the mic right that they must have used. I didn't get a mic with it because it worked fine for me. And the receiver somebody had switched 2 tubes in the receiver. And when I found that, I just swapped them back. It works fine. So that's one that I use every once in a while. But that big speaker is what came with it.
All right, thanks. And I think that's what Paul had mentioned, that his originally had the larger, bigger speaker in there. Was it electronic switching? Is it the type of, you don't have a microphone, you don't hear anything?
Oh no, you hear. It's relay switching, and basically they didn't hear anything because 2 tubes were switched, and you had some audio gain when you turned the volume up, but you had no receive, no RF-IF receive, because they had switched 2 tubes. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. And when I test the tubes, I test one at a time. I don't take them all out. So when I tested all the tubes, they tested good. So then I got the schematic out, and I looked, and I checked each tube, and I found that they had switched tubes. So I put them in the right sockets, and the thing worked just fine.
Well, how about that? I mean, we're glad you did, because we get to see and hear these radios. Sometimes it's a simple thing like that. That's good when it is. I know this radio is always working. Radio 13, you're lucky 13 tonight. The R68 T68 Browning Golden Eagle. Kind of dragging our feet to see if Mark's radio shack made it back on the air. And we're not quite sure what happened there, but did get him checking in. Also, good night to Ray. A lot of people signing out here. Wee hours up in Utah. Who's also listening? We still have British Columbia, stations in California where it is still the 10 o'clock hour. Maryland, North Carolina, New York where it is late. Liverpool where it is 8 hours difference at least, and a host of others. So thanks for hanging in with us tonight as we wrap up the old Tube Radio Network tonight. So, Harvey, when you're listening, are you listening on the internet when you're away from the radio, or do you have another like receiver inside?
No, I'm in the house listening on the internet. I could do that internet-wise here in this room, but there's no room to put the laptop, and I can do it on the phone, but there's way too much of a delay.
Yeah, and the delay depends on your internet speed, and I used to have a lot less delay. For some reason, my browser loads really low. I just had like a 2-second delay when I got the fiber, and now it loads slow, and I get a big delay, but that's only for like a QC that I need that anyway, because I'm listening to the sound cards and everything else. All right, well, that's nice to know. Always good to have listeners, and so I asked because I want to see how many people actually use the audio stream that way, so it seems to be beneficial and helpful, and we'll try and keep it up and running as we can. I always kind of worry that we're going to have the big explosion here, or if the computer goes down. Obviously, the Old Tube Radio Network will happen as long as there are radios. There doesn't need to be an internet for the Old Tube Radio Network, but it's sort of opened up the venue to others who do similar things wherever they might be across the U.S. or beyond. Gives people ideas, and it helps us here because we have, like yourself, Harvey, we have a lot of people who are knowledgeable and who've lived the experience of these tube radios and help us out with comments and questions and suggestions, and that's really great. That's something we didn't have 30 years ago that I really think is a benefit from doing the internet thing. So I will go back to you for transmission, and I think we will probably count an amount and get the heck out of here. Over.
Okay. Well, yeah, this is one of my favorites. I think it was the third Browning I got. Either the second or the third. The Mark III was first, and either the R27S23 that sits right below this one, or this one was the second. I can't remember. Okay, I'm going to let you go. Catch you in 2 weeks, and we'll be out.
All right, thanks. Any other stations that would like to check in or recheck in before we sign out here? And then Mr. Announcer said,
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
Wow, that was loud. Back to the studio camera for the Old Tube Radio Network sign up for our totals. And I just realized I've been having so much fun chatting with our operators that I haven't added up the totals. Looks like 57, 26, and 31. 57 SWLs, and for the radios, I think the Brownings did it with that last check-in. Gives them three total, but again, we're not in a race. Typically, at least the Old Tube Radio Network is not in a race to see who can check in the most manufacturers, but that's sort of a nice competition. We will take anything and anyone. 13 radios tonight on this day before Mother's Day. So all you mothers out there listening in, or be good to your mom if she's around somewhere, or remember your mom if she's around somewhere. And that's what's going on tomorrow. Right now, we've got our radio number one tonight was Paul on the RC11B, TX11B Buddy bass. Didn't know if that was from... That was the other question that I had for Harvey that I forgot to ask was, if they came with that big speaker, was that typically the Marina Communications or the Autronics, or did it make a difference if that had anything to do with anything? Radio number two, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB from Jerry. Then Steve, Mr. Unicorn, on the RF side. Good to have Steve Areno in with us on the Courier 23. Doing a good job, actually, with that radio that hasn't been fired up, did you say in years? For a long time. Burning the dust off the tubes. Of course, we do archive. The videos will be up, and go to oldtuberadio.net, click on the OTR magnetophone archive button, let everything load. It'll take a while. Look for the date, like May 11th, and look for whether it's an SWL or a tube radio check-in, and scroll your media device to hear your playback as we heard it here at Old Tube Radio Network. Radio number 4, Paul on the Polytronics Polycom N8 channel. Radio 5, Chris on the Gem Marine Products G PowerMate. Radio 6, Mr. Sidekick on the General Radio Telephone MC5. That was followed by Radio 7. Followed by Radio 7, the really good-sounding Courier Royale. That radio just gets better with age. Thanks, Chris, for that. Radio 8, Paul on the Midland 13890. How many are out there? That is one, the Midland is one radio I rarely see on any type of a Facebook post or Facebook picture, but they've got to be out there. The Chris 23 Plus was Radio 9 from SWL 37. Jerry brought by the very loud Sonar Model G for Radio 10. Radio 11 on May 11th was the Super MC11A from Chris. Radio 12, he's been waiting all year to do that. Radio number 12, the Browning R27S23 from Mike, and it came back, a little exercising of the buttons there. Radio 13, the R68 T68 Browning Golden Eagle from Harvey, SWL 20. And let me just stop talking here for a minute and see if Mark SWL 70 has made it back. I'm thinking he may have had some power issue or something, the way that radio clicked out. I am, as my white balance, the camera's failing me here, so I think it'll be time to get out of here. Let's head over to the Orban loudness meter as we say goodnight, everybody. 7, the Old Tube Radio Network, back again, we hope, next Saturday at 8 p.m. Pacific time for your dining, dancing, and Old Tube Radio listening and transmitting pleasure. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping the Nixie tubes running, and of course, thanks to all of you for keeping us running these 30-plus years on the Old Tube Radio Network. Who else is out there? Hello, the Mighty Juliet Whiskey 73, John. Captain Keyboard reminding us to stay safe and not to drink and drive. Stay in front of the radio. Head into the Radio Shack with an iced tea. Sometimes that's a safe way to go. And good night to those who are listening in at oldtuberadio.net. 73, everybody.
Thanks so much, Dennis. Another great job.
Good night, Great Net, and good night to all the SWLs.
Well, I guess I lost my power.
I guessed correctly. The way the radio faded out was very interesting, and I thought, I wonder if it's a power thing, but you've got it now.
For now, I do, yeah. But, so I got trees. I was working on that last couple of days with the wife, and then, but man, I had about a 35-foot mast on the roof with a hex beam on it, and it's, two of the guys gave way, and so the thing just folded over in the middle, which is a real bummer. It's really ugly up there, and it fell over into another mast, and, you know what turnbuckles are, right?
Yes.
So the turnbuckles, they were medium duty, like rated at 500 pounds or something. And it's a steel thread on both sides, but the bracket in the middle, whatever you call it, is aluminum, and it looks like the steel threads just ripped right out.
Wow. And I've got some I bought 30 years ago that are really good, and I've got the ones that I had the little light-duty tower up that were let's go to Harbor Freight. And those definitely worry me. Now that you mentioned that, they worry me even more. You had serious winds going on. We had winds here, but man, nothing like that. You probably had one of those, massive little quickie gusts or something that tweaks it and pulls it just right. So, sheesh, and let's see, we're still up on the audio stream and the video stream, which is good because it sort of had that hanging thing with Mark, SWL70. Where did he go? Was it the power? So you're back. You have completed our sequence here, so we know that all is well, at least tonight. But we're getting the sort of details from Thursday night, which are less than stellar.
Yeah, it was. I went up in there in the afternoon when it first started rolling in because I heard a big thump, and there was a ladder. I had some up there, and it blew out over, and I was up at, 6 or so, and I literally had to hang on a couple times. I was like, whoa. I mean, it was like super strong, and then it went on just for hours that night. So, yeah, bummer, man, because once that guy went, I mean, it was all over, right? And I think, some of those gusts just seemed to really bump up. Somebody told me there were 40-something miles an hour or something like that gusts, but, some bumming about that, but, when I put it back together, I'm thinking those turnbuckles, I'm going to put like an additional, wire loop between the two ends or something like that. You wouldn't think you'd need to, but I know now.
Yeah, they got the clamps. You're supposed to wrap it around and put 3 clamps in the live end, and there's a way to do it. I think we lost power at the transmitter up at Meadow Lakes. It was Thursday. I'm going to say it was in the 8 o'clock show. It's probably between 8 and 9 o'clock because the transmitter dropped down and then the generator comes on. We're in the building that's got some other channels up there, and the generator starts. So there was a power loss, but took us off for about 10 seconds or so. All right, well, I think everything is cool. I was looking at the extended forecast, and there is another it's talk about Thursday. There's another storm coming in Thursday. Hopefully not anything like this. And again, you guys up there in the hills and in the north suffered the brunt of everything. It seemed like all our EAS tests were all for the upper counties, or I mean the like Mariposa and Tulare, but up in the hills. So maybe it'll be our turn next time. All right, glad to hear you back on. The power is up. The station is sounding good. And I guess I was going to ask, is the antenna, are the antennae salvageable at all?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to have to take it all apart, though. The hex beam was on one mast, and then I'm on the Max 2000 now, which is on a different mast. That was fine because it's, there's no, compared to the hex beam, there's no wind load. So that was the issue. But it looks salvageable. The big base plate thing, right in where everything kind of meets together in the bottom and the middle there, it got pretty tweaked when it crunched. But we'll see. I'll know more when I take it apart. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it could. I guess it could have been worse. Anyhow, at least I can talk on this one.
You are sounding good. And the IMAX 2000 are somewhat notorious because, as you know, that little top piece just whips around like spaghetti in the wind. And I lost mine. Mine snapped. The fiberglass broke. That was last year. I don't know when it was. During the winter, it actually tweaked and broke the fiberglass part of it. So I would think if you had told me you had both those antennas, I would guess that the IMAX didn't make it through the wind, but it did. So it was mounted correctly, or just in the right. You know how it is, being in the right spot at the right place at the right time. All right, sounding good. Thanks for tying things up here and letting us know that it all came back. And they lived happily ever after. Over.
Yeah. Thanks for a shoulder to cry on. All right, man. Have a great evening, Dennis, and everybody else up there. I was going to sign off. I'm not going to do that here. All right. Thanks, man. Talk to you later.
All right, but I am going to sign off. We've still got the video stream and the audio stream up at 10:34. Good night, everybody. The Old Tube Radio Network, where we encourage you to do a similar thing and get on the air night, old radio night, like JT and the gang, or whatever. Just get on the air, get the radios working, and maybe even if you don't have one yet, think about getting that ham radio license. The sunspots are coming back. So the next year or two, as the sunspot builds, time to build your station and get on the air, and then we'll have lots of fun when those sunspots are in the triple digits, talking to you all on 10 meter AM or wherever we might find you. Good night, everybody. The Old Tube Radio Network, 73.
Good night.
Yeah, it's all uphill from here, right? We're at the bottom.
We are coming out of the bottom. Good night, everybody.